The felon in February. Has MAGA hit rock bottom? Will the courts and other institutions hold? And what do we need to know about the year of the snake? Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. So I'm recording this on January 29th, which is the Lunar New Year. Um, so happy New Year to everyone. Um, we're now entering the year of the snake, and the animal oracles, most of the time, snakes represent a time of healing. They can represent a time of rebirth, a time to literally shed one's skin and try something else. So before we start looking at the felon, because I think it's been a very heavy 10 days, let's just ask just some overarching energies for what we need to know as we enter the year of the snake. And then we'll pin down on those other questions. Okay, so what does the collective need to know as we enter the year of the snake? So this is the ancestors and angel oracle deck. For two, so two cards. What does the collective need to know? So we get stag spirit, trust and thrive. I think this is the universe's way of saying, even through the chaos that is the political life, we have the ability to trust and thrive in our personal lives. That doesn't mean we set the political aside. Doesn't mean that we compromise morals and values. What it means is we don't let this, how to say, this overarching energy that is now, that's very dark and heavy, we don't let that consume us. We trust that it will, as all things, end and we'll get a chance to thrive. And then we get the high priest, intend and create. So your life is your life. Create with it what you want. And how do we do that? We do that through intentions. So set your intentions for the month, whether that's focusing on family, focusing on career, focusing on activism, focusing on whatever it is that um, is going to help you thrive, right? So the stag and the high priest card. So um, set your intentions and thrive. I think that's what the year of the snake is about. So that does not mean it's going to be an easy year. So anyhow, moving on from that, uh, what do we need to know about the felon that occupies the White House for the month of February? Yeah, I've seen the Hierophant card. That's, I think, a positive card. It's about courts. Um, and it feels like it's going along with the Eight of Swords a little bit. So it feels like the courts are going to pull him back a little bit, um, which has so far been holding, but you never know. So, what can you tell us about the felon in February? And then we'll drill down on anything if any looming questions come up. What can you tell us about the felon in February? See the Ten of Cups, which is about families and reunions. I think family is going to weigh really heavy on people's minds as we start to hear more stories about deportations. I think the definition of family is being rewritten, um, and has been being rewritten over certainly my generation. You know, a lot of my friends we consider more as family than maybe some distant family members, right? So what do we need to know about the felon in the White House for the month of February. Yeah, again, it's like the Eight of Swords and the Hierophant mixed together, which could be good news, but let's see what the cards say. So we get the Five of Wands. This is the card about fighting battles, struggles that could be internal fighting. This could be fighting amongst the Republicans themselves. It could be fighting with the Democrats. It could be fighting with the courts. It could be fighting with everybody. Kind of feels like the felon likes to pick a fight with everybody, other than the people who I think could hurt him. Um, and we get the Devil card. So there's a lot of mis and disinformation that's going to be coming out in February. So we need to be cautious about that. We need to make sure that we don't just read I'm hearing we need to make sure we don't just read the headlines, but we actually read the full articles. Um, some things might sound good that are bad, and some things might sound bad that maybe aren't as bad. I'm not getting that they're good. I'm just getting they're not as bad. Um, so, and I think especially when it comes to these federal programs and what they're going to do with them. New partnerships are going to form, new alliances in the month of February. And I think these new partnerships are forming to keep the felon from doing the things that the felon shouldn't be doing. Um, in the past, we had choices. The choice was made. Um, it was done so blindly, and there's already been some evidence in the polling to suggest that his approval rating has dropped dramatically and his disapproval rating has risen dramatically just in the first however long, 10 days, it feels like eternity. He's worried about the truth coming out about what exactly it is they plan on doing. I think when Vice President Harris was campaigning and she said, you know, you're going to get Project 2025, I think we're starting to see that. I think we're starting to see remnants of those exact plans coming out. Um, they're going to try to hide that, and they're going to try to hide that with mis and disinformation. And it's odd. The question I asked was about the felon, but the felon's voice doesn't really seem to be coming through. It's almost like what he says is immaterial to the goings on in February. It's really focusing on what's actually being done that's going to be important. Um, and the near-term outcome, we get the world, which is the end of a cycle. Now, this could be good or this could be bad. I have a feeling it's good. I think the cycle that's coming to an end is the Republicans, um, or MAGA, or whatever other colorful names you might have for that group of people. I think their ability to get things done is coming to an end. The days of governance, unfortunately, are coming to an end. They'll come back. The government will start to function again. And they'll function on a basic level, but big pieces of legislation, I don't think we really need to fear that. Um, that's what I'm getting. So I think the world's card here is representing almost an end to the chaos that was these last 9, 10 days. Um, we get circles of supports and celebrations. Um, you know, they're still gloating about their um, controlling all three branches of government, but they're going to be on the defense. there's going to be a lot of pushback. And I have said this from the 2025 predictions going forward, that things would not be easy for him to accomplish. And governing by executive order really just leads itself to being thrown out by the courts. So, in the hopes and fears, we have the Hermit card. This is isolation. It's also shedding a light. And I think that's the hope. The hope is that a light gets shed on what's going on. And the fear, um, and also, I guess maybe it's also a hope, is that he just feels isolated, the felon. He just is isolated and can't get anything accomplished. And the people in the Congress and Senate don't know how to act without him because, I don't think they're willing to put their uh, thoughts out to the public unless it has the felon stamp of approval because we've seen so many times people getting burnt. And there are plans in the work. So, with the Seven of Pentacles, we get wish fulfillment as well. And here's the family card I was seeing. Here the family's running in from the rain, but it's like this, they're seeking shelter from the storm, but it's very clear that their intentions and the direction that they're running in, it's very clear that there is shelter. And I think that's kind of the overarching theme for February for the felon is that for us as the collective and those of us that oppose him, is the storm's still going to be there, but there's shelter coming soon. The storm is coming to an end, which um, makes me think maybe we should just take another look at uh, at the health situation. I know we've read on this a lot, but it just kind of is feels like you know even in readings that are just top adjacent about the elections in 2026, the Ten of Swords kept popping up, and I think that's his demise affecting future events. So let's just ask, can you show us the felon's health, the felon that occupies the White House? Can you show us his health in February? The energy still feels the same as it always does. So let's see if the cards are similar to what we've been getting. Feels a lot like the Five of Cups, the Five of Swords, loss, wounded in battle. So we get families coming together. Why are they coming together? My first thought was, when does a family come together around someone in their late days? Um, and then it's crossed by the magician. So manifesting, there's possibly some dark intentions. We get a message about money, um, or his health in this case. In the past, we have the sun, which was full illumination, celebrations. But that's in the past. That's no longer. We get a message coming forward again, and I think this is for the collective. I think this message is more in relationship to his family. This message, I think, will come out to the collective about what is going on with his health. We get in the near term outcome bombshells and surprises. That's 3 pages. That's never good. Um, so bombshells and surprises in the near future. You seem to always pull the Knight of Wands too, which and this deck just makes me feel like it's celebrations, right? And being free. Um, and I've said this many times. I don't know how the country would react to him having a health crisis. And then judgment's coming. It's coming. And um, we get the King of Swords and the hopes and fears. That I think is a hope. It's a hope for steady leadership. I don't know that we'll get it. And here's the Five of Swords that I was seeing. And um, this is, and I've mentioned this before, but this is the exact card that of the exact deck that Rosalind Carter pointed to describe dementia. You can see the guy's clenching his head, and you can see behind there's a shadow, and he's looking up like as in anguish, right? Because he can't express himself in the physical realm anymore. Like, so we get things moving quickly, and then we get the Ten of Wands. This is heavy burdens. It's also the end of a cycle. Um, yeah, I think his health is not good. We get being left out in the cold, the Five of Pentacles. We get the Eight of Swords, walking away from things that no longer serve us. Here's the Five of Cups I was seeing. We get loss. Um, so yeah. Uh, I don't know when we're going to find information about his health, but his health is like, it feels like in the month of February that it's very teetering. Like there might be events that happen, and I've read on that before, maybe some public appearances that kind of raise some questions about his health. Okay, so with all of this crazy stuff going on, these executive orders, these deportations, shackling people as if they're criminals for, just wanting a better life. Um, has the MAGA movement, how should we phrase this? It's kind of like, are they going to go any lower? Or will the public accept? Let's just go that way. Will the public accept the administration, the felon in the White House, the MAGA politicians? Will the public accept them going any lower than they've already gone with respect to immigration, healthcare, all the things people care about, the federal workforce, grants? Will the public accept the assault that is going on? Will they accept it moving any further than it already was? So I'm seeing the devil card, which is both miss and disinformation, but it's also a really heavy no card. It's one of the biggest no cards you can get. I think the public is done, and I think the polling is going to start to reflect that. And we all know that the felon likes to look at polls. So let's see. So fiery messages is what it's all about. Um, the challenge is actually fiery leadership. So I think we might start to see people like Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, um, Jamie Raskin, these really well-spoken people come out and explain in detail what's going on to try to overcome that devil energy. And that is going to be MAGA's challenge. Um, the victory is in the subconscious for them. So it's almost like a Pyrrhic victory. It's not real. They really haven't accomplished anything other than a whole bunch of executive orders that may or may not actually stand up to court challenges. We'll check that out in the next reading. We get the Six of Swords. This is moving away from troubled water. I think they're reading the tea leaves already, and we're starting to see this. We had Mitch McConnell even vote against Pete Hegseth. I think they're starting to see that the tea leaves aren't working, and I think that's going to start to come quickly. We get the Eight of Wands in the sky. The near-term outcome, we get the Ace of Pentacles. I get that this is a little bit like can represent a new beginning, a new financial beginning, but it almost feels like this is like the exhale of a deep breath, and the country feels like financially we're okay. Whereas right now, I think a lot of people feel like they don't know what's coming next. So this feels like an exhale, if that analogy makes sense. It's like, big deep breath, you've exhaled and you kind of have centered yourself, and the country, maybe that's exactly it. The country kind of centers itself and isn't going to accept this craziness. Um, Unforeseen partnerships. I think this can be some Republicans standing up against him and maybe helping the Democrats. We get the moon card, things coming to the surface. I think some of their real intentions will come to the surface, which will push the public even further away. We get the Two of Wands being at a crossroad and inevitability and the hopes and fears. So, in the hopes and fears, we're at a crossroads. It's like the hope is that the chaos stops, the fear is that the chaos continues. And probably, reality is generally somewhere in between the hopes and the fears. And so things go forward. Maybe they're not quite as chaotic, but they're certainly not probably super delightful. Although I do think the summer months will get better, um, in the sense of how we're starting to handle this new reality. MAGA, they're on the defense. They're the weary warriors. They realize they're defending themselves. We get the Queen of Cups. This is about steady leadership, which they don't possess. We get intergenerational relationships too. I think college campuses will start to see possible activity. Maybe some protests around immigration, especially if they start going into schools. We might even see that in high schools. Uh, MAGA's underneath. We get the Five of Pentacles. They're out in the cold. They're trying to manifest their wishes, but ultimately we get the Ten of Swords again. It's like the movement dies in a sense. It doesn't go away. It it morphs itself into trying to pretend that it was never as illegitimate as it was. They rebrand themselves, so to speak. There's also the Ten of Pentacles underneath, which is the inheritance card. That's very interesting. The cards on Trump's are on the felon's health weren't great for sure. So, an end of a dark cycle could be coming. I don't think that the public's going to stand for too much more of this chaos. So let's ask, will the guardrails hold up? Will the courts keep things in check? Will just give these cards a knock to get the energies reset. Okay, so will the courts hold up traditional US values? Let's phrase it that way. Striking down this nonsense about birthright citizenship, which is very clearly unconstitutional. Will the courts hold US? Will the courts hold up US norms, agreed upon norms? Will the courts uphold norms and traditions and not let the felon in the White House run completely rabid? The courts keep the felon from going too far. I think so. I'm seeing the Six of Wands, which is about victory. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits, just a lot. Like almost everything that is done by executive order will be challenged. any legislation that they pass, which I don't think will be much, will be challenged. So we get the Four of Cups. There's just not an appetite for this dramatic change. Um, and we get the Eight of Swords. I was seeing this earlier before we opened up this reading in regards to this question. Uh, the felon will be confined by the courts. Uh, there's a little bit of worry here with the message about money coming forward. I would not be surprised if we find out through some investigative journalism that there's been some inappropriate behavior around money with respect to some justices for entertainment purposes only, but in particular, some Supreme Court justices, and just two, and you probably know the two I'm talking about. We get the Star card. It's in the past. It's about protection. We feel the protection's gone, but all the energies that are in the past are still available to us. We just have to call upon them. We get a message being received. And yeah, and then in the near term outcome, we get the Nine of Pentacles, which is about basically all our needs being met. So the country's staying at least enough on the tracks that we can recover. Um, there's a lot of illusion and delusion about actually what's being done. Like I said, I think that devil energy about mis and disinformation, we have to think twice when we see a headline. If you still watch the news, you know, the scroll at the bottom isn't probably going to tell the full story. It's kind of like one of those things. We do have Russia in the picture, which might serve as a distraction for the felon. You know, if he spends most of his time trying to figure out something with Russia and Ukraine, that's probably not bad for the collective. I don't think that he will resolve that issue, but he's going to try. Um, we get the Seven of Pentacles. So this is the courts upholding norms and values. It's basically if, planting the seeds have been planted, um, and things are going to already like things have already been planted, right? The constitution's there, the laws have been moving forward. That doesn't mean there's not going to be some missteps. I'm not saying that, but I think overall, um, things are going to be courts are going to keep him constrained. We have the Ten of Cups again. We're running towards the shelter. The shelter is there, though. That's important. We get circles of support and celebration. I think there'll be a lot of celebrating around certain court rulings and a lot of anger around certain other things. We do get the Ace of Cups, which is about new beginnings. The fish is jumping out of the Ace of Cups, which it could be a surprise, some sort of surprise ruling, maybe from the courts. We get the truth emerging. We do get a lot of really powerful energies going on. We get juggling money, and we get the Democrats carrying burdens, and then we get the Chariot and strength. So I think the courts and the other institutions have the strength to constrain everything. I think we'll hear the felon lash out a lot when these things are struck down, and probably get the MAGA people to rah, 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 oh, we hate the courts, we hate the courts. But, in the end, I think the institutions hold. I think February will be a month where lots of stuff happens of no consequence. That's my overall picture of it. So lots of stuff will happen. It'll seem scary, maybe it might, and eventually it'll be inconsequential. It's like it feels like the one reading I did where it's like it feels like a voided check. It's like they wrote the check and then all of a sudden the courts write void on it, and it's nothing comes of it. So anyhow, Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll be back with a new video probably next week. Thank you.